Hey everybody, it's Jason from the Texas Gun Vault, and once again I'm coming to you with another product review. And today's product review is on something I normally don't review, and that is going to be a scope, an optic. And the reason I've always kind of strayed away from doing optics reviews is I fully admit that optics are not my forte. While I love guns and like to study the action of guns, optics, I understand them on a very basic level, and I've always felt that maybe I would not do them justice. However, today a company has contacted me, and it is SVBony. And this is supposed to be a foreign-made but high-quality kind of plinking rifle scope. No, this is not an EOTech. No, it is not a Trijicon. And I'm sure that many people aren't even going to watch this video because they don't know the company. And I kind of feel that that does this product a disservice, and here's why. Having a YouTube channel, I can tell you that when it comes to the more affordable budget products, they get way more views and more interest than the high-end stuff. You guys know I love HK and B&T. And when I make a video on, let's just say, the B&T APC9, it gets 1,500 views in the first couple of months. But if I do a video on a Ruger LCP, it gets tens of thousands. Now, I know that most people that comment on my channel like the higher end stuff, but a lot of people are looking for budget-friendly options. And people that come through the Texas Gun Vault, just kind of clicking through, looking for product reviews, well, this may help them. So this might not be the product for you, and I totally get it. However, it may be the product for somebody else. So I'm going to use this in simply a plinking term. Put this on a .22 rifle, and the rifle I'm going to use today is my custom-built Ruger 1022. Now, I do have this already outfitted with an optic, and this is a Nikon Pro Staff rimfire. Now, the price of this particular object is in the low 100s. I have seen them advertised anywhere between 100 and 125. So it's not a very expensive optic by any stretch of the imagination. However, it is made by a company that most people know, Nikon. Now, whether Nikon actually makes it or they have just another company in China make it and they brand it as Nikon, who knows? It's probably the latter, but this has been a pretty nice rifle scope for this particular rifle. Now, the price point on this particular scope is going to be a little bit lower. This is between $80 and $90, so probably about a $20 to $25 difference between this scope and the Nikon. Now, this is not a brand name, so I would expect it to be a little bit less, but who knows, maybe the quality is just as good. And so we're going to unbox this. We're going to see if this thing is a piece of junk or it's actually pretty good. Now, I do not expect this to be a go-to-war rifle scope. So I am not saying this is going to be the greatest scope to put on your AR-15. As I said, I'm just going to put on a little 1022, something with low recoil, not a lot of power, but something that I'm going to go to the range with, have some fun with, and go plinking, because I think that is the prime target of this particular scope. So who knows? This thing might be a piece of junk. It may be the greatest thing since sliced bread. I haven't even opened the box, and in full disclosure, the company sent me the scope for free and also a mount for it. So let's get this thing unboxed. I'll talk about the specifications. We'll see what it looks like, and we'll get it mounted to this Ruger 1022. So let me adjust the camera. All right, so let's go ahead and get this thing unboxed. I know you guys are wondering, this is the model SV177. It says the color is black. Specifications, it is a 3-to-12 by 44 objective lens. I guess it is made in Hong Kong. Now, all of the other scopes that I've talked about in this price point are often made in China or foreign countries. I know the Nikon, I believe, is made in Thailand. So I know a lot of people like that for rimfire. So if that is a problem for you, I completely understand. But just in full disclosure, that is where this particular rifle scope is coming from. So let's go ahead and open this thing up and see what comes inside. The box is pretty nice. Okay, so it's wrapped up in some plastic here. Let's go ahead and take that out. We get an owner's manual. We get, sounds like some tools, some scope rings, I think. Yeah, we get some stock rings with it. We get a battery, so this must be illuminated in some way. We get a cleaning cloth, and that is all that comes in the box. So let's go ahead and get this scope out of the plastic, and let's take a look at it. All right, so this thing is definitely a lot bigger than I thought it was, and I believe it does have some type of sun shield as well with it. So we'll take that off. It does have looks like lens caps on it. That is a pretty big objective lens there. Take this thing out of the packaging. All right, so I thought this was plastic, but this is actually aluminum. That's pretty nice. So let's see where that would screw on. So let's take off these end caps here. All right, so obviously this could go right there, screws in just like it should. So I gotta say, for a budget optic, so far just handling this thing is pretty darn nice. It's big, but I don't know if that means it's going to translate into performance. We have all of our click adjustments up here. All the anodization on it looks good. The finish looks good. It says right here, nitrogen gas port. So maybe it is purged with nitrogen. All right, so that's what we have there. I wonder if this end cap would go on that, and it does. So that is a big old long rifle scope for just a 3-12. But we'll see what the field of vision is on it. Let's also take a look here at the mount. So they already gave us, as I said, scope rings. But let's see what comes in this box too. All right, so we have a completely different mount here, which I think I will probably use because this is going to mount better to Picatinny rail. Oh wait, I think there's a tool in there. Yep, there's an Allen wrench. I think that's all there is. So it looks like we have the mount, we got some spacers, and looks like these are kind of quick detach for the Picatinny mount. So let me go ahead and get this scope positioned in this mount and on the rifle, and we'll see how it fits, if there's any problems with it, and then I'll give you guys my initial impressions before taking it to the range. All right, so I got this scope mounted to the rifle, and I put everything on it that came with it. So I did put the little sun shield, and I did put the caps back on. So I know this thing looks like a little bit of overkill. So now putting it in the mount, I have to tell you, this is actually a very secure mount. I'm really happy with it. Everything is made of metal. Just making sure everything's tightened down there. Everything went in the mount like it is supposed to. In handling the scope, I have no concerns on its build quality. It seems to be really solid. I can tell you that looking through the glass here in the garage, it is very clear, and the reticle is illuminated to some degree in that you don't have to have any of the illumination on. The reticle will be simply a crosshair that is brown, and if I can find a visual representation of the crosshair, I will put that in the video right about now. But it has an illumination for both green and red. The battery compartment is right here, so you can change the intensity of it. You can go green one way all the way up to level 5, and then red is the other way from 1 to 5 as well. That is really cool. The click adjustments here on the top say it is 1/4 MOA, and in order to adjust it, you pull up on the drum and you can turn it. And those clicks seem to be pretty darn solid. I like how sturdy that feels. And then essentially you just put the drum back down. Same thing will go for your windage. It has the same type of drum. Pull it out and you can adjust the clicks that way. So I will have to get this to the range and get this thing sighted in. But so far I am really happy with how this thing is built and how it looks. I do have to say the lens caps are really nice. I like how they simply fold out of the way. And all the other micro adjustments that you would expect on a scope are here. So you have your adjustments for parallax shift in the front. And if you take off the lens cap in the back, you can fine tune the focus. So I'm really impressed with all of the options this has at this price point. The glass is clear. The build quality seems to be there. Overall, I'm happy with it, and I think mounting this to a 22 plinking rifle is a perfect application for it. It might be a little bit on the big side, especially going from a 3 to 12 power, and that's easily adjustable right there, but it has a very large field of view. I guess depending on the power, at 100 yards, your field of view is anywhere between approximately 25 yards on 3 power all the way up to 7 yards on 12 power. So I think your field of view is good. As I said, the glass seems to be pretty darn clear. I have no problems with any of the adjustments or the build quality. I think it mounts to this particular 22 plinking rifle perfect. And as I mentioned before, I know this is not a EOTech Voodoo. I know it is not a Trijicon VCOG, but this might be a great option for someone that is just looking for a nice little plinking scope that is budget friendly on a budget rifle. And I have to say, you get a ton of options and build quality from SVBony. So I'm really impressed with it. Another thing I do want to talk about is the mount. They do give you a little piece of Picatinny rail here on the top, so maybe you could possibly mount some type of backup red dot if that's what you want to do. And just here in the garage, of course, it's very hard to test this, but it seems like the eye relief on this is pretty good. I'm pretty happy with how it sets. It seems to be pretty darn forgiving at both 3 and all the way up to 12 power. So that's usually something that I complain about, especially on the more powerful scopes. I'm very sensitive to eye relief, but this one seems to be pretty darn forgiving, and I'm pretty happy with that. All right, so we got this thing mounted. It's looking good, seems to be functioning well. So let's go ahead and get this thing to the range. Let's see if we can get this thing zeroed and how it performs. All right, so here we are at the range. This is going to be the first shots on this particular scope. I can tell you from just getting it here in the lower light conditions that illuminated reticle works pretty good. For the most part, the red is a lot better than the green. The red looks more even. So essentially what I think is happening with this reticle is that it's kind of a brown or blackish reticle that has some type of reflective coating to it, and it has a red or green LED that shines on it. The red looks way better than the green, but the green is still very visible. So we're going to put our first shots through this. I know it's not zeroed at all, so we're going to spend a few moments here just trying to figure out if I can get this thing zeroed. Then I'm going to put the target out as far as I can here on this 25-yard range. Then we're going to see if it holds zero and what type of groups I can get. All right, so it does seem to hold zero. I'm going to spend a little bit more time getting this thing right on target, but so far I'm happy with the results. All right, so I spent a few moments zeroing this rifle. Yeah, it's only at 10 yards, but sometimes these scopes can come out of the box way off target. Now, I was shooting at the left target. I'm going to show you what type of zero I just got on this. And I can tell you from just using the adjustments on the drums, I'm really impressed with those detents. Everything is very tactile and strong. So I'm happy with how this seems to adjust. I can also tell you that the field of view is pretty good at 3 times magnification, which is what currently I have the scope set up at. So I'm going to give you guys 10 rounds just at 10 yards on the right target. The left target was when I was zeroing the rifle. And they all go through the same hole. So now I'm going to put the target out at 25 yards, increase the magnification, and see if we can duplicate those results. All right, so I've adjusted the range on the scope to 25 yards, and I have adjusted the magnification to ×8 power. We're gonna try this at 25 yards and see if I can duplicate that previous group. I can tell you from just looking through the scope, both at the 3 and 8 power, the eye relief is pretty forgiving. And as I've mentioned before, I'm very sensitive to that, and one of the reasons why I don't like mini scopes. So let's see if I can duplicate those results. 25 yards, 8 times magnification. All right, so let's bring in the target here. I'm going to need to adjust the zero for this yardage, but I'm still getting a really, really good group. So as you can see, I have to adjust the elevation, but the group is fantastic. The scope seems to be holding 0. So I'm going to adjust it one more time for 25 yards, try to bring that 0 down, and then I'll try one more time on this target, and then we're gonna go back to the garage, and I'll let you know my final thoughts. All right, so I got a fresh target out there. I've re-zeroed it for 25 yards. Let's see what type of group I can get. 8 times magnification. And I will be shooting for the right target. I think I'm pretty happy with the results of this. Looks like I got a nice tight group on the right target. I can't argue with those results. So let's get back to the garage. I'll give you guys my final thoughts on this SVBony scope. All right, so we're back from the range, and I've had some hands-on time and experience with this scope, the SV177 by SVBony, and I have to tell you, it's really good. It has exceeded my expectations. Everything from the mount that they provided to how well it seems to be constructed to how strong the controls are. And by strength, I mean nothing on it seems to be put together cheaply or weak, or any of the adjustment knobs seem to be loose. Everything seems to work as it's supposed to. And all of the options you have on this, from the magnification of 3 times to 12 power, you have a very large objective lens, which gives you a huge field of view. You have fine tuning for all of the different distances up here at the front and the back when it comes to the eye relief. I am just blown away. Oh, also it has that illuminated reticle. Now, that is something that I personally could take or leave, but the good thing about this is that if the electronics inside this decided to go kaput, it really wouldn't matter because the reticle is still clear, you know, whether it is brown or black. It's kind of a brownish gold. It's really hard to get any type of pictures through this. I actually did try, but this is my first scope review, and I'm not really sure how you take a picture through the scope to show you that reticle, but I did my very best. It just doesn't show up, but it's kind of a very dark brown, almost a black. You can see it just like any other non-illuminated scope. But the fact that you do have this knob over here, which takes a very common CR3032 battery, and you can illuminate it red or green in low light situations, it's pretty darn cool. Even the little accessories that come with it, you have the lens covers, they're really nice, they seem to be well built, and you have this sun shield, which you can take off. I just have it on because I don't want it lying around, so if I go to the range and don't need it, I can easily just take it off for that range session. The mount also has those Picatinny rails up here if you want to add some type of red dot optic. Everything on it seems to be really solid. And so when they first contacted me about doing a review on this scope, I was a little bit hesitant. I looked at it and went, okay, this is probably just another super cheap scope. It's probably going to fall apart. It's not going to hold zero. It's probably a piece of junk. Okay, come on and send it. And they did. And I have to tell you, this has exceeded my expectations. In fact, I'm going to keep this particular scope on this 1022 build that I have. I think it is absolutely perfect for this type of application. In fact, I'm going to move that Nikon scope that you've seen before, that is a dedicated 22 rifle scope, to something else. I don't know what I'm going to use it on, but this is going to stay on this rifle because it has more options and I like it better, and it's $30 or $40 cheaper. So, do I think that this rifle scope would be great on maybe some type of heavier application? Well, probably not. I will say I went online to see what other people were saying about this scope on other websites, and there were a few people saying that they did have success on this on 308 and 6.5 Creedmoor rifles, that it held zero. Now, personally, I wouldn't probably use this on anything else besides a 22 or maybe a 223. I know that when it comes to cheaper optics, the law of diminishing returns does come into play. So there's a huge difference between a $100 scope, which is a sub $100 scope, all the way up to a $500 scope or a $1,000 scope. And I know spending a lot of money on a fine piece of glass for your rifle can be really important, especially if you're going for specific types of builds. But as a plinking scope, for someone just looking for a scope for, let's say, a 1022, some type of small caliber rifle to go to the range with, have some fun, do some plinking, but wants a lot of options that seems to be pretty solid and is probably going to last a while, you really can't go wrong with this thing. I'm honestly blown away by it. So, in full disclosure, as always, as you guys know, they sent me this for free, so you guys can tell me if this affected my personal review. But I personally love this thing. I am extremely happy with it. So on my star system, how would I rate the SV177 scope by SVBony? Well, it's actually going to get 5 out of 5 stars. Now, please remember that rating is for how I used it in this particular setup. Do I think this would be a 5 out of 5 star scope, let's say for a dedicated marksman rifle chambered in 308 and you're trying to do 1-mile shots? No, it is not for that. But as a plinking 22 or maybe 223 caliber, just fun ranch target range rifle, you can't go wrong. And it's really affordable, it seems to be high quality and gives you so many options, and it seems to be relatively well built. I would say it is the same build quality as the Nikon, which is $30, $40, or $50 more expensive and is more of the industry standard as an entry-level 22 rifle scope. So that's my experiences with this. I'm extremely happy. I am really glad that they sent this to me, and I'm really glad that I decided to do the review on it because I almost passed on it. I truly did. I almost passed on it because I was like, it's gonna be a piece of junk. And it wasn't. So for what it is, 5 out of 5 stars. You guys really cannot go wrong with this scope. I am super, super happy with it. Let me just give you a couple more close-ups of it here. And there you go. The SV177 by SVBony. I'm going to put a link in the description below and pin a comment if you're interested in looking at one of these, kind of pricing them out, and the link that they sent me. But I get no other kickbacks, no cash back, or any of that if you buy or not buy one of these. They just sent this to me for free. So, as I said, you can decide, does that affect my opinion on this review. So there you go. So let me know if you have any questions and what you think of this review, not only of the scope, but how I approach this. This is my first optic review, and I would love to know your input. So let me know what you think in the comment section below, and as always, thanks for watching.